Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen keeps asking, "Why are you single?" My response shuts her up quick. After that, am I the jerk for tipping our waitress $20 despite her poor service because my date was playing a game with her tips? And after that, I told my brother's girlfriend it's weird for her to keep an urn of her late husband's ashes in the house. Oh, these are gonna be good. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to eat broccoli. Broccoli cheese soup for the win, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen keeps asking, "Why are you still single?" My response shuts her up quick. I, 36-year-old single female, get asked this question a lot, and since it comes from coworkers, extended family, friends of friends, then responding rudely by saying, "None of your darn business, sweetie," still doesn't seem to work. Not anymore. I try to keep good relationships with those around me for a number of reasons, but this question just ticks me off, especially since the reason for why I'm single is pretty awful, and so it's very personal. They feel sorry for me. I can see it because they list all my good traits, then say it's a shame no man is willing to win it. What the heck? Unfortunately, I get caught off guard a lot by people, especially women, asking this question, but since I can't control the fact that they ask, I really wish they'd just leave me the heck alone. I decided to use this method that I came up with very recently. For example, if a woman asks why I'm still single, I just tell her, "Because I still haven't met your husband or boyfriend yet," while acting somewhat flirty in the moment. So far, it seemed to shut them up. It's kind of passive-aggressive, yes, but I just feel some sort of power doing it. Well, a few weeks ago, my sister introduced me to her boyfriend's sister, and once she sits down, she asks, "How old are you?" I tell her, and she gasps, and goes on to ask, "Why are you still single?" I look at her and say, "It's because I still haven't met your boyfriend yet." She has a boyfriend, yay her, in the flirtiest tone I could muster, while also pulling the duck face pose. She looks at me in utter shock, then puts her coffee down while my sister stares at me like, "What the heck?" Conversation gets awkward, and a few minutes later she gets up saying she wasn't feeling well and leaves quietly. My sister blows up at me asking why I just said that, and I start arguing with her about how this woman was a snoop. She told me to get over myself and act my age and stop being childish, which she assumed is the reason why I'm still single and will always be because no man wants to be with such a nut job. Her boyfriend said I upset his sister and is expecting apologies from me because of what I said to her. So, am I the jerk? I'm going to say a soft, "You're the jerk." Yes, the questions are invasive and unkind, and yes, you have the right to your privacy, but there's no reason to be nasty about it. I 100% agree that people questioning why you're single are annoying and offensive. I get it, hence the soft, "You're the jerk." But there are better ways to deflect or get someone to mind their own business. Personally, I'd use the why method. When someone asks you an invasive question, just say, "Why?" in a neutral and curious tone. They will follow up with, "I'm curious," or something. Reply with, "Why?" Basically, continue to ask why to every response and enjoy watching them flounder as they attempt to explain and justify their invasive interest. It's a similar technique to saying, "I don't get it. Can you explain it to me?" when someone makes an offensive joke at someone else's expense, and watching them flounder as they have to explain why it's funny to be offensive. Eventually, one of two things will happen. They will get bored of the why and change the subject, or they will get frustrated. Either way, you keep the moral high ground, because no reasonable person can say you were being offensive by just asking why. The key is to keep your tone neutral curious, as though you genuinely don't understand the question. Try it and see. Everyone sucks here. It's incredibly rude to ask someone why they're single, but your response is obnoxious and trashy too. I agree with this. I can't comment on OP's situation and what she's dealt with, but would it be wrong to comment, "It's a personal reason that I won't disclose," and leave it at that? If they pry further, then you say it one more time and leave if it goes any further. I think it is incredibly inappropriate that people continue to ask these questions to her, but I find it is always better to handle all things with class and strict boundaries. Well, who do you think is the jerk? Please let us know. Some people just can't mind their own business. Am I the jerk for tipping our waitress $20 despite her poor service because my date was playing a game with her tips? I met a guy on a dating app. We hit it off and we arranged for our first date. Things were going well. We had sat down and had started some small chat. Our waitress comes over and asks us what we'd like to order. I say what I want and gesture to him so he can order. He orders and then pulls what I think is about $15 on the table. He says, "This is your tip. Every time you mess up, I take some away." The waitress looked nervous immediately. I'm sitting there a bit shocked, but mostly embarrassed because I wasn't expecting this. She must have been new as well because she did spill some drinks on our table that night, gave us the wrong food, and overall just seemed lost. He took away $13. I asked him why he thought doing tips this way was a good idea. He said it was the best way to ensure good service. When I disagreed, he said, "Can't always be nice to these people. It's not a respectable job." I decided then that I wanted nothing to do with him and called the waitress over to get the bill. I slapped a $20 bill in her hand and got up to pay for my own meal. Later that night, he had demanded to know why I had given her the tip despite her poor service, and I told him it's because he decided to treat her livelihood like it was a game. He said because of me, she'll never improve her service and that I'm just a people pleaser. I blocked him, but I've wondered ever since if that was really the right thing to do. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. So he made her nervous, which likely made her service worse. Then he has the absolute gall to say, "Can't always be nice to these people. It's not a respectable job." What? He's using the service she provides and yet insulting her and all the people who share the same job? Oh my goodness. If it's not a respectable job, why did he demand pristine service? These people have to work during an ongoing lockdown to people who are even more unhinged lately. OP, not the jerk. Anyone that treats servers like this doesn't deserve your time and energy. This guy showed you who he was. You have to believe him. Not the jerk. That kind of game isn't even remotely a good way to ensure good service. It's a good way to fluster your server into making even more mistakes because they're too hyper-aware that they're being judged. Or make a really good server deliberately and subtly ruin every part of your dining experience. Heck yeah, if anyone had ever pulled that with me back in my serving days, I guarantee they would have gotten stank eye and the most glacial but technical service possible. My self-respect is worth more than your $15. Not the jerk. That kind of game is only played by rude folk who have no respect for those they deem below them. That poor waitstaff didn't deserve to be treated like trash because of her job, because she was new, because she's human and not a perfectly functioning robot. Kindness is free. I told my brother's girlfriend it's weird for her to keep an urn of her late husband's ashes in the house. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this happened last night while me, male 23, and my family were visiting my brother's, male 30, girlfriend, who's also 30, house for the first time. We were all sitting at a dinner table, and I remembered when my brother's girlfriend, who's a widow, saying that she keeps an urn of her late husband's ashes in the house. Conversation led from one thing to another. Then I looked at my brother and asked him quietly if he was comfortable with having his girlfriend's late husband's urn in the house. He gave me a long stare, so I figured the answer was yes, but maybe. He couldn't tell his girlfriend about it, fearing she'd misunderstand maybe. So I brought it up with her and told her it was quite weird to have her late husband's urn in the house. She looked at me and was apparently caught off guard by what I said. She said that she didn't think so and that it wasn't like the urn was on display. Also said this is our late husband's house and where the urn should be. I told her it felt weird, especially since she just had my brother move in with her and he must be feeling uncomfortable with the idea. His girlfriend looked upset and got quiet. My brother shouted, "None of your business! Shut your mouth, Elijah! Goodness!" I responded with, personally, I wouldn't be cool with my girl keeping an urn of her ex within close proximity. At best, it'd make me feel uncomfortable. At worst, it'd make me feel creeped out. His girlfriend then replied by saying that I have no business dating a widow then, and I shrugged. She excused herself to the kitchen and stayed there. My brother went off on me, calling me an obnoxious jerk for making dinner awkward and upsetting his girlfriend. I told him I was just giving my opinion, but he lashed out more. My parents and I left, and they told me my brother's girlfriend was being hypersensitive, but I went too far and upset my brother and probably sparked an argument between them, and I should reach out to apologize, but I'm not sure. Edit. Guys, please. One thing you should know is that I had no intentions of being hurtful. I do not hate my brother's girlfriend. In fact, we get along pretty well, but I just wanted to add that I had no malicious intent here. I'm not the type of guy who goes out of their way to act maliciously, but I feel kind of guilty for how the situation played out. Edit 2. My parents are the ones who said she was being hypersensitive, not me. Edit 3. Yes, I overheard my brother venting about the urn when he first moved in, just so you know. You're the jerk. Newsflash, dude. You are not always entitled to your opinion. This is none of your business whatsoever. Think about this whenever you open your mouth to speak. 1. Is what you're about to say helpful? 2. Is what you're about to say necessary? 3. Is what you are about to say kind? If the answer to any of these is no, then keep your mouth shut. This incident, the answer to all 3 is a definite no. Nice list. You're always entitled to hold an opinion, but not always entitled to give it, especially when it's not asked for. Definitely ask yourself those questions before deciding to spout an uninvited opinion. I'd also add in this case, who gave OP the right to decide how anyone grieves? A surefire, you're the jerk. See, I don't agree that everyone is entitled to even hold an opinion in certain circumstances. I guess it comes from my mom always expressing opinions, often outlandish ones, about people and situations that don't concern her. For example, when she heard my cousin and her husband were divorcing, she immediately expressed an opinion that it was probably because my cousin was working too much in her business, when what actually happened is that her husband cheated on her when he was working away. To me, nothing about my cousin's marriage had anything to do with my mom, so she wasn't entitled to her opinion on it. My thoughts when I heard about the breakup? Oh, I hope my cousin is okay. There's a difference. You're the jerk, an absolutely massive one. It's not her ex. She didn't dump him. He didn't leave her. He was her husband and he passed. That love doesn't just disappear. You don't just erase all memory of a loving marriage. Who else should have his ashes but his wife? Why would you even think to question her or pass comment on this? Do you have no social skills or empathy at all? Your brother already knows her past and accepts it, and it's precisely forget all to do with you. Your parents are also jerks if they agree with you. Everyone else is pointing out that you're the jerk, and you absolutely are. But I haven't seen a comment yet that points out this is not her ex. I wouldn't be cool with my girl keeping an urn of her ex. An ex is someone you, or they, have made a decision to end a relationship with. Her husband passed. They didn't choose to end the relationship. He is her husband, her late husband, but her husband nonetheless. Shame on you for this behavior. You owe her a massive apology, assuming she's even willing to hear you out. I sure wouldn't be. Am I the jerk for canceling my daughter's 10th birthday party when she didn't finish her chores on time? I, 32 female, have 5 kids. My husband, who's 34, of 13 years, works full-time and I stay home with the kids. We have a small 3-bedroom townhouse and no dishwasher. We live frugally as we have a large family, student loans, and the mortgage. We teach kids the value of chores from a young age. Last Sunday was my daughter's turn for dishes. She kept getting distracted by her siblings, ages 11, 8, 6, and 4, and didn't get them done. Every time I went to the kitchen, she wasn't there, and I had to go find her to bring her back. She said the water made her hands itchy, and there were too many dishes. Eventually it was bedtime, so I said she would have to do them tomorrow. Every day last week was the same thing. I left her to do the dishes, and she wandered off playing outside or sitting watching TV. She complained that now there were even more dishes than before. I said, that's what you get for putting it off. On Wednesday morning, I told her, if you don't finish these dishes by tomorrow at bedtime, I will cancel your birthday party. At first, she was mad and cried. Then she seemed like she didn't believe me. She washed a couple things that afternoon, but ended up playing outside again. On Thursday, she acted like the dishes didn't exist and didn't try to do them at all. So at the end of the day, I told her the party was off like we had talked about the day before, and she threw a massive tantrum. She said I was ruining her birthday, and she only turns 10 once. On Friday, her birthday, I sent messages to all the parents of the invited kids, letting them know that we were canceling. I let her pick what I made for dinner, and I baked a homemade cake, but she was still very grumpy with me and struggled to get along with her siblings. The party was supposed to be on Saturday. A few people who didn't get the message showed up, and I turned them away. My daughter wouldn't come out of her room and screamed at her sisters who share the room with her. She called her aunt, my sister, on the family landline, and my sister said I was too harsh and I've traumatized her. My husband says what we did is no one's business, and she's growing up and needs to learn how to help around the house and learn about natural consequences. I did let my sister and parents come over and bring her some gifts this Sunday, after my daughter tearfully finished the dishes, and we had a little family party with siblings, grandparents, and aunts. Today, some of the kids at school gave her their gifts they got for the party, so she has those. But my daughter is still moping around, and now it seems harder than ever to get her to do chores. You're the jerk. She kept getting distracted by her siblings? So she was cleaning up after 7 people and watching her siblings? What were you doing? Clearly not parenting. Yes, this. Stay-at-home parent. I get it. It's hard. I work from home with 3 kids, but they have school, and I get crap done because I'm the mom and it's my job. Sounds like the kids are taking more responsibility than the parents here. Absolutely. And it sounds like there's more happening than the kid just getting distracted. Clearly she was having some trouble with a task, but neither parent ever bothered to figure out what. I also think it's crazy to have a kid that age do all the dishes for a dinner for 7 people. There's at least 7 dinner plates, cutlery sets, glasses, and whatever servingware they happen to use. And potentially the pots and pans used for cooking too, if OP decided those were the kids' responsibility as well. Chores are a great way to teach kids responsibility and self-sufficiency, but this seems a bit much. You're the jerk. You expect a 10-year-old to do dishes for 7 people? Stop having kids. Buy a dishwasher and get off her back. Also, she kept getting distracted by her siblings, who are 11, 8, 6, and 4. How was she getting distracted? Were they asking her to do things for them? Where were you? What were you doing? As the parent, to stop the other kids from distracting her. What were their punishments for preventing her from doing her chores? I'm all for kids doing chores. I give my own kids chores. But if you can't manage the house with all of your kids helping out, you need to rethink some of your choices. You could have let her have the party, but locked up the gifts until the dishes were done. There were so many choices you could have made, but you chose the laziest one you could. Allergies to dish detergent is a real thing. I am extremely allergic to dish soap. This was started when I had continual exposure to it with barely any breaks. What would have been a normal irritation turned into a violent reaction, and now I can't be near it, or near laundry detergent without gloves. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for canceling their daughter's birthday party or not? Please let us know. I'm not sure if Reddit is the best place to be looking for parenting advice, but maybe that's just me. That was easy. I was looking for a Staples Easy button as a gag item to put on top of a large radio tower for a climbing class I was hosting and organizing just before the world went sideways in 2020. I see online the local one has 2 versions in stock and at least 15 of each. One version is even on sale. I was getting some work done on my truck at the dealer a short walk away, so I head over after dropping it off. The store has maybe 4 to 5 employees in the front chatting. I'm one of 2 customers as there was an older lady getting things printed. I spent maybe 15 minutes looking but can't find them anywhere, so I go to the front desk and ask. The woman there says they should be out somewhere, so I ask where. She just rolls her eyes and says they must be out then, but I could order online. Okay, well it was just for a stupid laugh and not worth paying for shipping, but as I go to leave I check my phone and see I still have the webpage open. I also see that they have an order online and pick up in an hour option. Great! I have nothing better to do as my truck was supposed to be ready in about 2 hours. I found a nice desk chair in the back of the desk display area to sit at where I could see most of the store from. Then I ordered it for pickup. A moment later, I see an employee leave the front area with a small printout. He proceeds to walk around for a while, passing me a couple times. He can't find them either. After another 10 minutes, he goes back to the front and gets another person to start looking. More fruitless treks around the store, and I can see they're starting to panic. As I am in a swivel chair, I have a great view of everything and can rotate as needed. Thus far, I seem to be unnoticed. Now 3 of them are looking. Another few minutes, and a manager has appeared to see what is happening. Finally, he gets everyone there to start looking, besides one employee that's still helping the old lady. I overhear him commenting on how other things are not in the correct shelves either. After what has now been 1.5 hours since I entered the store, they realize the buttons are all still in a box up on a high shelf. The desk woman I originally dealt with is asked to go get a ladder and has to come past me. Now she finally realizes what happened and makes a very lovely face at me. She finally gets the box down and takes one out to the register while the manager has everyone else gather around to start organizing the store. I still haven't received the item is ready for pickup email, but I get my call my truck was ready. I notice she's glaring at me, but must have entered it in as ready as I get the email. Now as these formerly chatty employees are being put to work, I walk up to the register and get the pickup from her. As soon as I start walking to the door, I hear her manager call her to come help. Thanks for the tip to order online. Bruh, Staples still exists? Not for long, Karen. Not for long. Am I the jerk for how I reacted to my boyfriend's game character? My boyfriend, 23 male, of 7 years, recently started playing a new game called Black Desert. I'd like to preface with the fact that he's not addicted to playing video games, and we both have a healthy, balanced routine. I, 22 female, had only ever heard of the game he was playing in passing, and I don't have much interest in MMO titles in the first place, but we have a few games we play together, and I thought I may as well try the game with him. However, after I start and finish a few quests, I meet up with him in-game, and I met with almost a mirror image of myself. The model wasn't perfect, obviously, but the character looked almost exactly like me, down to the facial structure and body type. I was very reasonably creeped out, and I asked him why he had gone out of his way to make a character out of me. His weird as heck explanation was, if I have to look at a character model while I play a game, why not look at someone I already find hot? I said that he was being creepy and obsessive, and that I needed a bit of distance, so I've been staying at a friend's place for about 2 to 3 hours. I just can't get the picture out of my head of my boyfriend spending hours creating a lifelike sculpture of me in a character creation menu. I'm starting to feel a bit bad for how I reacted though. So Reddit, am I the jerk? This is why I never date guys who are into video games. They definitely tend to be the creepiest. The same goes for guys who watch anime. I hope you reconsider your relationship with this creep before he does something even worse. You don't deserve to be subjected to this kind of mistreatment. Not the jerk, so far anyway. Gamer here, wife and mother of gamers. It is absolutely normal for a guy to make a hot chick avatar on exactly the theory that they are gonna spend a lot of time looking at it and they'd rather see a hot chick than a dude. However, making an exact replica of someone you know in real life is fairly uncommon that I've heard of. However, as the wife and mother of gamers, I do tend to think it was honestly more of a dumb gamer move than a creeper move. Oh hey, my hot girlfriend. Oh yeah, guy logic and gamer logic. Go figure. But how he reacts if he insists on keeping it or if he's willing to give it a makeover will tell you how much he actually respects you in your relationship. You can then decide accordingly. Not the jerk. I think it's creepy too. If someone did that to me, I'd feel super weirded out. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know. I thought it sounded kind of sweet to be honest, but alas, we are on Reddit. Am I the jerk for taking back my gift and refusing to return it? This happened over Christmas and I'm still getting heat over it. I love knitting and crocheting. It's my thing. This year with lockdown and all, money's been tight, so I decided to knit Christmas gifts for everyone using yarn I already had. Everyone already agreed to only do kid gifts, so I made small stuffed animals, unicorns and dragons in different colors. It was my first time doing these, and all the best patterns are crochet, which I'm not as comfortable with, so it took months to make them all. I didn't mind though. It was fun to learn something new and a good way to use up some of my enormous stash. All my side were happy, or polite enough to act happy, with their gifts. The problem was with my husband's families. His sister immediately started making snippy, sarcastic, but kind of indirect comments about me being cheap and lazy. Niece didn't seem to like it either, and said some things that, yes, I get that she's a kid, but my feelings were still pretty hurt. There's a history of this sort of thing, so maybe I'm too sensitized to it, but I angrily took the gifts back and handed her some cash, which made things really awkward, and we left shortly after. The big problem happened when niece realized that all her cousins got matching stuffies, and so she wants hers back. I already gave hers away, and I refused to make her another one. Apparently, she's crying and I broke her heart, but I'm finding it hard to care because I'm still hurt by how she and her mother behaved. They have not apologized either yet, but expect me to. My husband thinks I should make her another one and should have overlooked the comments in the first place. I told him that he's in charge of his family's gifts from now on, which is apparently petty. Now everyone, including husband, is mad at me except his stepdad and sister. My family is obviously on my side, but that's just making things worse. I get that snatching the gift back and flinging money at my sister-in-law's face, their words, I don't think I did, might have been overly dramatic and rude, but am I the jerk for it being pushed too far? Edit. I was told I should mention that my niece is around 11 to 12 years old, and that I didn't literally snatch the toy out of her hands like my sister-in-law claims. Niece had tossed it away, so I picked it up. Edit 2. Thanks to everyone who responded. I've tried showing this post to my husband, and unfortunately, it didn't go well. He's upset over me making our private things public, which I understand, but still, his reaction seemed disproportionate. I didn't want to bring my family into this because they already don't like him, but I'm staying with my sister for a bit. I don't know what to do. Sorry if I'm not responding much anymore. There's just too much else I need to think about now, I guess. Not the jerk. Entitled kids grow into entitled adults. We darn sure don't need any more of those. I'd tell the sister-in-law that maybe she should have had some respect and taught her kid respect, and she'd have the matching stuffy. As someone who actually does crochet, making that stuff is both time-consuming and still expensive because of the materials that go into it, even if it's yarn you already have. Not the jerk at all. I'd be happy to get a handmade gift. Not the jerk. OP, husband should handle the gifts for his side of the family and you deal with yours. That is 100% normal and okay. Sounds like hubby just expects you to do all the labor and have zero responsibility himself. That's BS. Yes, I noticed several issues in this post, and this one is one of them. Yeah, the husband puts in no effort, takes no responsibility, allows his wife to be insulted, blames the wife for his sister-in-law's behavior, demands his wife apologizes when she did nothing wrong, then calls his wife petty because after all of this, she says he should take some responsibility for gift giving for his family. He is the super jerk. Although I get the feeling if hubby was in charge of the gifts for his side, he would blow the entire household budget on his family just to make himself look good and not worry about OP or her family getting anything. OP. It would make life easier if he would buy their gifts because they always love whatever he gives them. Sometimes I would buy things and let him say he bought them and they never complained. But this year we couldn't afford much and everyone knows he doesn't knit or crochet, so it was obvious who they were really from. He wants to go back to the old arrangement, but I don't want to anymore. Am I the jerk for getting a supermarket employee fired after he left a note with his phone number on my wife's windshield? Context. Wife and I were out shopping at the supermarket yesterday morning. I noticed a guy, he works there, following us from spot to spot, sort of like checking out my wife. I wasn't sure, but he kept trying to start conversations with her by offering to get her XYZ products. I felt annoyed, plus the guy was roughly 20 to 21, so he was about 10 years younger than me. Once we got our stuff and walked to the parking lot, I saw a note with a phone number on the windshield. I couldn't help but connect the dots as the following. A. This is my wife's car, and she regularly shops, so the staff here knows her and most likely knows her car. I figured it was someone who knew my wife. Wife asked that I throw it away and get in the car, but I took the note, walked into the supermarket, and started dialing the number. I waited a few seconds, and a phone starts ringing. I look near the register and see this guy standing there with a puzzled look on his face looking at his phone. I immediately and loudly confront him about leaving a note with his phone number on my wife's windshield. He tries to act dumb, asking what I'm talking about. My wife comes inside and says we should go, but I refuse. At this point, customers and workers are just staring at us. I demand to see the manager, while the guy keeps denying, saying he had no idea how his number got there. The manager comes in minutes later and I tell him everything. He apologetically agrees it was inappropriate and unprofessional and borderline harassment. He then tells the guy to go to the back and then tells me he'll take care of it, then further apologizes to my wife. Later, I found out that the guy was fired. My wife said I caused a huge issue for no reason and there was no harm in letting that guy just keep his job. I said she was being unreasonable to think I made him lose his job. She said no, but I could have tossed the note instead of making a scene and causing this college student, how did she know, to lose his income when it's a frequent thing for guys that age to act like that. I don't know, because I feel guilty for escalating things to this degree. I feel pathetic, honestly, and like I acted out of insecurity and anger. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Guys that are like this in their 20s will grow up to be creeps like this in their 40s. I was in my mid-20s and had moved to a new state. I was offered a job at Dunkin' the day we applied for our new apartment. After about a month of being there, I noticed a note on my windshield of my car one day. I looked at it and tossed it. The next day, I drove my truck to work instead. Same thing happened. I tossed the number again. I go home and tell my boyfriend what's going on. The next day, when I go to leave for work, he hops in the car with me. He sat in my car waiting for the creep to do it again. Sure enough, he goes to put his number on my windshield, and out pops my boyfriend from the car. He told the guy to stop harassing me. He actually tries to come into the store to apologize to me, but I wasn't hearing it. Good on you for saying something. He got what he deserved. He followed her around while her husband was with her? This guy is a creep. The employee is deranged. Who the heck does he think he is to give a woman his number while she's with her husband after following her all over the store? Like, did he think she'd be like, "Tee-hee, it's that weirdo's phone. He's so hot. I need to call him ASAP." He is a complete and major creep. What if he does this to someone else? Most will feel uncomfortable and not do anything about it. If they're not confrontational, they'll just start going to other stores. OP did the right thing, not the jerk. Am I the jerk for yelling at a lady who untied my dog while I was grocery shopping? I take my high-energy border collie for daily walks. A few days ago, I was discussing with my husband how strange I think it is when people come up and ask to pet my dog when we are out and about. Always older, overly friendly women. Sometimes these walks involve errands where I tie my dog's leash to a bike rack out front. This morning, we walked to the grocery store to pick up a few things, and I left my dog tied securely at his usual spot. As I'm heading inside, an older woman says to me, "What's your dog's name?" I thought to myself, oh no, I don't want to engage with her. So I just gave her a short glance and told her, and I raced into the store. I spend 5 minutes inside the store, then come back out and see this woman holding my dog. She had apparently untied him and moved him to a new spot. As I walk out, I gave her the death stare and said, "What are you doing?" She explained that she thought the spot I left him in was too wet, so she wanted to move him to the other side of the building. Then she couldn't hook the leash up, so she just decided to wait with him until I returned. I lost it on her outside of the store and told her to never touch my dog again, or he may bite her, and she should never move other people's dogs without them knowing. Now I feel somewhat guilty for yelling at her when she was probably just clueless and trying to help. Am I the jerk for yelling and leaving my dog unattended when I know this behavior exists where I live? Or is she to blame for moving and touching my dog without my permission? Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.